Hey everyone, this is Dr. Sharp again. I'm going to go over some tips and tricks for your cover letter and resume that you're going to be writing for this weekend. So, we're in our course homepage, and if you go over to week two, you're going to see a lot of content that you can use as a guide when you're working on these cover letters and resumes. So, we've got two example cover letters here. We have our cover letter writing packet that kind of gives you some hints along with a few more examples. This one's from Clemson. The first one over here was from Michigan. We've got a link to a resume examples by professional discipline from the UGA Career Center. So as you're doing your resumes, you certainly don't have to use these as a template for yourself. But if you know that you're going to want to go into education, you can download a PDF or doc of this education resume template. I've got it pulled up here already. And then, of course, you just put in your own information for these areas here. So these are some examples that I want you to look at when you're working on your resume and cover letter. Now we're going to break down a cover letter and a resume with some of these examples. And I'm going to show you one little trick that makes your resume pop a little bit more. So let's start with the resume. So these are going to differ field by field. Here you can see for an education degree, you want to put your education at the top. Sometimes, depending on what area you're in, you might want to put your teaching experience or your work experience at the top of the resume rather than the education. That's just going to vary by discipline. You're going to have to look at what your discipline does. That's why I tried to give you that example from the UGA website. What's more important, though, is to make sure that you are always listing your education and your work experience in reverse chronological order. So that means you want to put the most recent up at the top. So your most recent position should be at the top of your coaching experience, work experience. Your most recent degree should be at the top of the education. Now, all of you have not graduated yet, otherwise you wouldn't be taking this class. But if you're listing your education and you want to show that you're going to get that degree, you can just write anticipated May 2022. For you all, it would be May 2026. And then if you wanted to include your GPA, students often ask me about this. You can put that GPA. My recommendation is if higher than 3.5. So if you have a 3.5 or higher, list that GPA. If your GPA is a 3.2, 3.0, 2.5, that doesn't really matter. Just don't put it on your resume. It doesn't need to be there. The other big thing that I want to show you are these right here, which are called achievement statements. Achievement statements are short sentences or phrases that you add under your work experience or your service, any position that you've had. And what these do is they contextualize the what you've done in your position for your employer. And there are two reasons that we want to have these in. First, it gives you an opportunity to highlight something that you did well. Often, when you're doing an interview, your employer will have their resume in front of you. You can, if they look at the resume and ask a question, they're going to ask you about what you've written on there. So it's a good way to guide interview questions. Second, if you put those skills uh, into your resume, it can help your resume get through the AI detection software that's looking for those keywords. That's why I had you do the job screening application, right? We want to match our achievement statements to the qualifications that are listed in the job description. That's why we did that discussion board to help you out there. So I often find that students struggle the most with writing achievement statements, and there are two things that are really important. So first, when you have these achievement statements, you want to make sure that they are all in the same grammatical tense. And for whatever reason, we don't write full sentences with achievement statements. We just start with a past tense verb. So we'd say taught, developed, utilized, facilitated, initiated. We don't do the I. That's to save space on the document. So you want to make sure when you're writing your achievement statements, they are in a consistent grammatical tense. The second thing we want to make sure that we do is that we quantify our achievement in some way. So here it says taught advanced algebra and trigonometry on a 90-minute block schedule. So that's okay as an achievement statement, but it could be more effective if we quantify that in some way. And the way that you do that is you're going to explain exactly what you did, quantify it. How many sections did you teach? How many students did you have? That sort of thing. What I like to tell students, especially with achievement statements, is this is a great place to use Chat GPT or AI. You can write your original statement and then just tell Chat GPT to rewrite this achievement statement to adhere to expectations of professional communication in education. So we send that. It's going to rewrite it for us. And it says, we delivered standards aligned instruction and structured lessons to support student mastery. So we know this version is a little better, not because it was written by Chat GPT, but because it's using those words from the job description, right? We have standards aligned instruction and student mastery, things that they're going to be looking for. So I recommend when you're writing the achievement statements, you can use Chat GPT or Copilot or whatever to help you. Because a lot of times, since it might be your first job in the discipline, you may not know the words that are required. Chat GPT can help with that. Okay. The other thing that we want to do is we want to look at these cover letter examples. And when we look at this one, I just want to show you that what's really important in a cover letter, of course, you have all of this information up at the top. This is your address. This is the address of the place that you're applying. You may know the person that you're applying, who's going to be reading your resume and cover letter and all that stuff. You may not know it. If you can find it out, it's good to put it in there, but don't worry too much. If you don't know their name, you can just say, "Dear hiring manager." So, two really important things for a cover letter. So, first, in your initial paragraph, it's really important that you are taking uh, references from the job description and the company culture and putting it into that first paragraph. This demonstrates to the hiring manager that you've done some research on the company. And again, it helps get your job application materials through the AI screeners. So here you can see that they say the mission of ABC, the place that they're applying, immediately struck a chord, and I'm excited to express my interest in the development uh, assistant position. Right, so they're referencing the mission of the place that they're applying, and you can see that the thing that they're trying to reference here is the ability to build self-esteem, break stereotypes, and create dialogue across communities. So that's excellent. You want to be referencing the skills, the qualifications in the job ad in that first paragraph. In your continuing paragraphs, what's important is that you are using individual stories to demonstrate the skills and qualifications that you have for this position. So both of these examples that they give in their two body paragraphs, they're talking about specific work that they've done, not in a general way, in a specific way. So they talk about being a community outreach director, which did grant writing, fundraising, and event planning, and they specifically mentioned 15 large and small events. Right? If they wanted to make this even better, they might say like, "We won a grant for $5,000 to put on this specific event." That could be a little bit better, but this is a great start. Second one, they talk about working with the University of Michigan Development Summer Internship Program. And again, they are showing how a specific experience they've had connects to the job that they're applying for. So here they're talking about creating educational tools for gift officers, and that gave them experience with research, incorporating feedback, and communicating in a clear and concise manner, which, if we read the job description, those are going to be the things that are mentioned in the job description. So remember, when you're writing that cover letter, first paragraph, make sure you're mentioning the mission or the corporate culture of the company that you're applying to. And then in your body paragraphs, you want to highlight the skills and qualifications that they require, but you do so by telling a specific story some experience you've had at work. Again, this is why I had you do the job screening application assignment earlier. I want you to be taking that brainstorming and putting it into your cover letter and resume. So I hope that helps with the cover letter and resume. Remember, these are going to be due on Sunday night. You can see that over here in the assignments, or if you go to the course homepage, you can always see what's due and coming up in the calendar right here. So, hope you have a good time. If you have questions, just send me an email or reach out to me through the instructor contact info that's on the homepage.